everyone, I'm Vibha and today we're going to do from Echoes, the first chapter, that is Salvatore. So today we're going to cover these 7 points, starting with point 1, that is about the author. So Salvatore is written by William Somerset Maugham. It's not Maugham, it's Maugham. So let us know about the author. So William Somerset Maugham was born on January 25, 1874 in Paris, France, and he died on December 16, 1965 in Nice. He was an English novelist, playwright, and short story writer, whose work is characterized by a clear, unadorned style, cosmopolitan settings, and a shrewd understanding of human nature. So some of his famous works are Of Human Bondage, The Moon and Sixpence, Cakes and Ale, The Razor's Edge. So now about Salvatore. So the short story Salvatore is apparently a narrative about the life of a young Italian fisherman and his disappointment in love, but it is actually a masterly character sketch of the protagonist. So it is written in a third-person narrative and it is a simple, easy to understand short story. So now let us start with the story. Moving on to the second point, the characters. So the characters in the short story Salvatore are, number 1, Salvatore, that is the protagonist of the story. Number 2, a girl whom he loves, but he is rejected by her. Number 3 is a Santa, Salvatore's wife. So these are 3 important characters. Others include Salvatore's mother, father, brothers, and 2 sons. Now let us start with the story. Salvatore by W. Somerset Maugham. Salvatore actually means a savior, one who is kind-hearted and filled with goodness. He is generous. So Salvatore is savior. I wonder if I can do it. So we are starting with the story in detail. Third point. I wonder if I can do it. So the story has a really abrupt start where we really think, what is it that the author is trying to do? We know it at the end where he says that he was doubtful. He was doubtful if he could hold our attention for a few pages. I wonder if I can do it. And then starts Salvatore's biography. I knew Salvatore first when he was a boy of 15, with a pleasant face, a laughing mouth, and carefree eyes. So these are Salvatore's physical attributes. He used to spend the morning lying about the beach with next to nothing on, and his brown body was as thin as a rail. So here they've used a simile, as thin as a rail. Simile is when you use words like as or like to compare 2 things. So his brown body was as thin. Brown body is compared to a rail, as thin as a rail. He was full of grace. He was in and out of the sea all the time, swimming with a clumsy, effortless stroke common to the fisher boy. So he was a fisher boy. Scrambling up the jagged rocks. Jagged means sharp, something which has a sharp, uneven edge or surface. Scrambling up the jagged rocks on his heartbeat, and scrambling means moving or climbing quickly. So scrambling up the jagged rocks on his hard feet, for except on Sunday. He never wore shoes. He would throw himself into the deep water with a cry of delight. He would be delightful. His father was a fisherman who owned his own little vineyard, and Salvatore acted as nursemaid to his 2 younger brothers. He shouted them to come inshore when they ventured out too far, and made them dress when it was time to climb the hot, vine-clad hill for the frugal midday meal. Frugal means very little. Frugal midday meal. So here we know about Salvatore's caring nature, its graceful, caring nature. But boys in the southern parts grow apace, and in a little while Salvatore was madly in love with a pretty girl who lived on the Grande Marina. She had eyes like forest pools and held herself like a daughter of the Caesars. They were affianced, that is, they were betrothed. But they could not marry till Salvatore had done his military service. And when he left the island, which he had never left in his life before, to become a sailor in the navy of King Victor Emmanuel, he wept like a child. He was very unhappy, but he could not marry the girl without completing his military service, so he had to go. It was hard for one who had never been less than the birds to be at the beck and call of others. It was harder still to live in a battleship with strangers instead of in a little white cottage among the vines. And when he was ashore, to walk in noisy, friendless cities with streets so crowded that he was frightened to cross them, when he had been used to silent paths and the mountains and the sea. So here we have a comparison with Salvatore's earlier life on the island and now while he is doing his military service. I suppose it had never struck him that Ischia, which he looked at every evening, it was a fairy island in the sunset, to see what the weather would be like next day, or Vesuvius, pearly in the dawn, had anything to do with him at all. So Ischia and Vesuvius were the islands where Salvatore lived. But when he ceased to have them before his eyes, he realized in some dim fashion that they were as much part of him as his hands and his feet. He was dreadfully homesick. He missed his island. But it was hardest of all to be parted from the girl he loved with all his passionate young heart. He wrote to her in his childlike handwriting long, ill-spelled letters in which he told her how constantly he thought of her and how much he longed to be back. He was sent here and there, to Spezia, to Venice, to Bari, and finally to China. Here he fell ill of some mysterious ailment that kept him in hospital for months. He bore it with the mute and uncomprehending patience of a dog. When he learned that it was a form of rheumatism that made him unfit for further service, his heart exulted. Exulted, very happy, for he could go home. Now let me tell you about what is rheumatism. Rheumatism is a type of disease where it includes stiffness and swelling and pain in the muscles and joints. So he was a soldier. Now if his muscles and joints are stiff and painful, then how can he carry on with his services? For he could go home and did not bother. In fact, he scarcely listened when the doctors told him that he would never again be quite well. What did he care when he was going back to the little island he loved so well, and the girl who was waiting for him? So you see, there's a question mark after him. It creates a suspense, a doubt. Was she waiting for him? When he got into the rowing boat that met the steamer from Naples and was rowed ashore, he saw his father and mother standing on the jetty, and his two brothers, big boys now. It's been such a long while that his brothers have grown up into big boys now. And he waved to them. His eyes searched among the crowd that waited there for the girl. He could not see her. There was a great deal of kissing when he jumped up the steps, and they all, emotional creatures, cried a little when they exchanged their greetings. He asked where the girl was. His mother told him that she did not know. They had not seen her for 2 or 3 months. For 2 or 3 weeks. So in the evening, when the moon was shining over the placid sea, placid means calm, calm sea, and the lights of Naples twinkled in the distance, he walked down to the Grande Marina. Remember, she lived on the Grande Marina? So he walked down to the Grande Marina to her house. She was sitting on the doorstep with her mother. He was a little shy because he had not seen her for so long. He asked her if she had not received the letter that he had written to her to say that he was coming home. Yes, they had received a letter, and they had been told by another of the island boys that he was ill. Yes, that was why he was there. That was why he was back. And was it not a piece of luck for Salvatore? He's very exalted. His heart was exalted. He is so happy. He's seeing the girl after so long. But the girl gives a blunt expression. Oh, but they had heard that he would never be quite well again. The doctor talked a lot of nonsense, but he knew very well that now he was home again, he would recover. They were silent for a little, and then the mother nudged the girl. She did not try to soften the blow. She told him straight out, bluntly, straight out, with the blunt directness of a race. Race here, woman race. That she could not marry a man who would never be strong enough to work like a man. They had made up their minds. Her mother and father and she, and her father would never give consent. When Salvatore went home, he found that they all knew. Everyone in his family knew, but they did not tell him. Now let's see why. The girl's father had been to tell them what they had decided, but they had lacked the courage to tell him themselves. He wept on his mother's bosom. He was terribly unhappy, but he did not blame the girl. The girl rejected him, left him, but he never blamed her. A fisherman's life is hard, and it needs strength and endurance. He knew very well that a girl could not afford to marry a man who might not be able to support her. His smile was very sad, and his eyes had the look of a dog that has been beaten. But he did not complain, and he never said a hard word of the girl he had loved so well. He seemed to understand the girl's decision. He showed true love for the girl. Then a few months later, when he had settled down to the common ground, working in his father's vineyard and fishing, his mother told him that there was a young woman in the village who was willing to marry him. Her name was Asanta. "She's as ugly as the devil," he said. So it is a contrast to the girl who was compared to the daughter of the Caesars who had eyes like the forest pool. And he is calling Asanta as ugly as the devil. She was older than he, 24 or 25, and she had been engaged to a man who, while doing his military service, had been killed in Africa. She had little money of her own, and if Salvatore married her, she could buy him a boat of his own, and they could take a vineyard that by happy chance happened at that moment to be without a tenant. So here we see the difference in the quality of Asanta and the girl. They were affianced, still the girl left him. Here they did not even meet. But Asanta was willing to do so much. But Salvatore, you could say, he was somewhat practical while dealing with Asanta. His mother told him that Asanta had seen him at the festa. Festa is the festival. And had fallen in love with him. Salvatore smiled his sweet smile, gracious smile, ingenuous smile, and said he would think about it. On the following Sunday, dressed in the stiff black clothes in which he looked so much less well than the ragged shirt and trousers of every day, he went up to High Mass at the parish church. So parish means an area having its own local church and offices, and a parish is a place where a church has its own priest or minister. At the parish church, he placed himself so that he could have a good look at the young woman, that is Asanta. When he came down again, he told his mother that he was willing. Well, they were married, and they settled down in a tiny whitewashed house in the middle of a handsome vineyard. Salvatore was now a great big husky fellow. Husky means burly, good built. Husky fellow, tall and broad, but still with that ingenuous means innocent and unsuspecting, ingenuous smile and those trusting, kindly eyes that he had as a boy. He had the most beautiful manners I've ever seen in my life. Asanta was a grim-visaged female. Grim means someone who has a sad or serious face with decided features. So these are the physical attributes of Asanta, and now we're going to know about her qualities. And she looked old for her years, but she had a good heart, and she was no fool. I used to be amused by the little smile of devotion that she gave her husband, and he was being very masculine and masterful. She never ceased to be touched by his gentle sweetness, but she could not bear the girl who had thrown him over. And notwithstanding Salvatore's smiling expostulations means disagree strongly, earnest, and kindly protest. He would say, no, she was not like that. You see, a fisherman's life is hard, and he would explain it to her, but he would never complain or talk ill about the girl who left him. She had nothing but harsh words for her. Presently, children were born to them. It was a hard enough life. All through the fishing season, towards evening, he set out in his boat with one of his brothers for the fishing grounds. It was a long pull of 6 or 7 miles, and he spent the night catching the profitable cuttlefish. So cuttlefish has a soft body and hard shell, and it's very profitable. It's a sea animal. Then there was a long row back again. In order to sell the catch in time for it to go on the early boat to Naples, it was a very hard life. At other times, he was working in his vineyard from dawn till the heat drove him to rest, and then again, when it was a trifle cooler, a little cooler, till dusk. Often his rheumatism prevented him from doing anything at all, and then he would lie about the beach smoking cigarettes with a pleasant word for everyone, notwithstanding the pain that racked his limbs. So from inside he was breaking. There was so much pain, but from outside he had a kind word for everyone. The foreigners who came down to bathe and saw him there said that these Italian fishermen were lazy devils. So he was suffering from so much pain. The people in his village knew about his rheumatism, but the foreigners did not know about it. So they said that these Italian fishermen were lazy devils. Even after so much suffering, he knew his responsibilities and carried them out. He worked day and night to support his family. Sometimes he used to bring his children down to give them a bath. They were both boys. And at this time, the elder was 3 and the younger less than 2. They were really small. They sprawled. Sprawl means they sat with their arms and legs spread out. They sprawled about at the water's edge, stark naked, that is completely naked. And Salvatore, standing on the rock, could dip them in the water. The elder one bore it with stoicism. So stoicism means expressionless, indifferent towards expressions. But the baby screamed lustily, that is with energy, enthusiasm. He was so happy. Salvatore had enormous hands like legs of mutton, coarse, rough, coarse and hard from constant toil, constant work. But when he bathed his children, holding them so tenderly, drying them with delicate care, upon my words, they were like flowers. He would see the naked baby on the palm of his hand and hold him up, laughing a little at his smallness, and his laugh was like the laughter of an angel. His eyes then were as candid as his child's. Candid means expressing opinions and ideas honestly and in a sincere manner. I started by saying that I wondered if I could do it, and now I must tell you what it is that I've tried to do. So in the beginning, the author created a suspense, and now he's revealing what is it that he's trying to do. I wanted to see whether I could hold your attention for a few pages while I drew for you the portrait of a man, just an ordinary fisherman who possessed nothing in the world except a quality which is the rarest, the most precious, and the loveliest that anyone can have. Heaven only knows why he should so strangely and unexpectedly have possessed it. All I know is that it shone on him with a radiance that, if it had not been unconscious and so humble, would have been to the common run of men hardly bearable. And in case you have not guessed what the quality was, I will tell you. Goodness. Just goodness. The ending is also abrupt. It's strange. Some people may find it to be not that great. They may get irritated, but some people may be amused that yes, he did hold their attention for those few pages, and we knew how Salvatore was, his characters, and then we are left thinking, it's ended. So many people may wonder whether it's actually a story or just an accumulation of events. Now moving on to the next point, the story is over. So the next point is the title. So the title is Salvatore, and it's rather apt and most fitting title because Salvatore is the protagonist of the story and the entire story revolves around him, around his activities, his family, his feelings, his emotions, his ideas, his goodness. So on reading the title Salvatore, we know that the story that is about to follow is going to be about Salvatore. And we are true, the savior, the kind-hearted, the generous Salvatore. Next point is the character sketch. So talking about the main characters. Salvatore, he is loving, he knows his responsibility, he is dedicated, he is emotional. He is a loving father, loving brother, loving son, loving husband. He used to give Asanta the smile of devotion. He would be very masterful and masculine at the same time. Full of grace, his physical attributes. Then comes the girl. Now, it's according to me, the author might not have named the girl because she might not be worth mentioning. She is a normal everyday girl. She was beautiful, but she had no heart. And Asanta is rare. She's worth mentioning. She might not have been that beautiful, but she had a golden heart. And she was a very devotional wife. Like we hear how she was amused by the smiles of devotion. There. Next comes the themes. So the themes in the story, the main themes in the story are love and affection. Love and affection of Salvatore for his children, Asanta's love for Salvatore, love and affection of Salvatore for the girl, for his parents, how he acted as nursemaids for his two younger brothers, his love for his children while he bathed them. Then comes responsibility. Salvatore, even after suffering from rheumatism, knew that to marry the girl, he had to be responsible to do so. He joined the military service even though he did not want to do so. From a young, tender age of 15 years, maybe before that, but from the story we know it's 15 years, he acted as nursemaid to his two younger brothers. He helped his father in his vineyard. Then when he grew up, became bold and robust and burly, he acted as nursemaids just like his brothers to his two sons. Looked after his wife. Then next, one of the themes is endurance, acceptance. Salvatore accepted the girl's decision, did not blame her. He knew a fisherman's life is hard and it needs strength and endurance, and he followed it. One of the major themes, let me mention it, is goodness. Salvatore's intense goodness and his love for his family. How even after being cursed by so many people, being rejected so many times, he had a good word for everyone. Now moving on to the last point, a question bank. So I have prepared a question bank for you all. Here it is, where I have a list of questions based on the chapter Salvatore, and you may note it down and I'm going to discuss it. Describe the protagonist's attitude towards life in Salvatore. Salvatore was a very positive being. He was filled with goodness. He was always happy, always looking positivity in every corner. Attitude towards life. So you can see he was a fisherman, he had a fisherman's life. He knew that it needs strength and endurance. He accepted it without complaint. Comment on Salvatore's relationship with his wife Asanta. First, he considered her to be as ugly as a devil, but then he did go and meet her. And when they were married, they settled down, they had two lovely children. He showed smiles of devotion to his wife. He was very masterful and masculine. What are the dominant themes explored in the story? So, themes, point number 6, we have discussed goodness, responsibility, acceptance, love and affection, endurance. Salvatore is a tale of exemplary endurance and grit. Discuss. Yes, Salvatore is very strong. Even after suffering from rheumatism, he bore it, like it's written, with a patient and with the uncomprehending patience of a dog. He endured it. When the girl rejected him, he wept on his mother's bosom. He did break down, but then he knew a fisherman's life is tough, and he was ready to accept it. He did not blame the girl. He understood her decision. It was a hard life when he was married. Day and night he worked in his fields, fishing, selling fish, looking after his wife, looking after his children, looking after his brothers. He did everything. He had grit, determination that life must go on no matter what. How does the author sketch the character of Salvatore as a down-to-earth person closely connected with reality? Yes, very nicely it's done by William Somerset Maugham. He is a very down-to-earth person. He knows, he understands everyone's decision, the girl's decision, a Santa's decision. He was practical while dealing with a Santa, but he was practical. With the girl, he was filled with emotions, and when he rejected her, he cried. But he always remembered that he is a fisherman. He has to have strength and grit and determination, and life must go on. So he understood it. And you see, down to earth, closely connected with reality, he accepted her decision. So from those portions, we are going to answer this question. He understood that he had to go for his military service, that he was facing from rheumatism. He was not sad, rather he was exulted that he would go back to his family, the girl. And in case you have not guessed what the quality was, I'll tell you, goodness, just goodness. Explain the truth of this line with close reference to the story Salvatore. So for this question, like we answer any 20-mark question, this is a 20-mark question. For this question, what you need to do is maximum quotation, and you can give a small gist from the quotations. You explain the quotations, tell about the themes, and you can answer this question. Now from the board papers, ISC 2020, a question came on Salvatore. Let me discuss it. So it was Salvatore, a 20-marker question, and it's how successful was the writer in bringing out the protagonist's innate goodness in the short story Salvatore? Just the same question that we discussed, talking about the abrupt start. I wonder if I can do it. Then Salvatore's physical attributes, characters full of grace, and yes, you must write it. Yes, the word yes. He is very much successful in bringing out Salvatore's innate goodness. It starts with a narrative, a simple third-person narrative of Salvatore. But then, as the story develops, we know about Salvatore's innate goodness, his love, his dedication, his responsibility, his strength, his endurance, and finally, to his quality, which is humble goodness. He strangely possessed it, and it was so subdued inside him, his goodness, that if it had not been so humble, it would have been hardly bearable to the common run of men. So with that, I come to the end of this class. So Salvatore, it was Salvatore, and now if you found this video to be helpful, then do like, comment, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much. All the best.